Transdemic podcast, episode 3 is about to start right now. And it's not that dramatic, right? It's not like the Mood House. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's been supporting and sending in questions and continuing to search for knowledge. And I hope that this does become a space that everybody could feel safe in, and a space that people could use as a resource to learn about things that you may not be familiar with, a space where other trans people can feel comfortable coming to and escaping for an hour or so out of their day and enjoying. So yeah, that's it. We're going to get this podcast started with Bentley right now. Questions. Questions we got today. Again, people are just apprehensive. I think eventually they'll ask more. We just need to stick with what we're doing and
they'll get
see it through.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
How's everything going for you on your end? How's life?
It's stressful. I'm probably like the biggest baby on earth, so like I'm like planning the surgery and stuff, and I just like have so much anxiety about like dying that like my quality of life right now is like terrible. But I know I like need to. Oh, thank you. No, I like need to do it, obviously, but like until like if someone called me right now and was like, "Can you come right now and do it?" I would like go, because like the waiting and stuff is like the terrible part. So I'm just still trying to raise money and stuff. But like I went to CVS this morning and bought all like the bullshit stuff you need, like stool softener and all the stuff that no one like talks about. You know, I'm gonna do a whole video about it, but like. There's so much more to it than just like showing up, and then like you have to buy this like $30 soap to wash your body with the night before and all this shit. So I'm just getting everything now so that I don't have to stress about getting that stuff later when like the surgery does get scheduled and everything, you know.
I'm stressed now. I'm stressed for you now.
I'm stressed too. But like I got a pregnancy pillow and like a mastectomy pillow and all this shit, so I'm just like ready to get it over with. But like I've never had anesthesia, and I haven't like tried many pharmaceuticals. So like when they ask you like what you're allergic to and stuff, it's like, I don't know, because I haven't had anything. So it's just like a giant spiral of anxiety and like panic attacks. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that on their top surgery vlogs on YouTube and stuff. From what I've seen, they're all like, I'm so stoked. And it's like, but there's also like other things to it. Cause like, yes, I'm stoked, and yes, it needs to happen. But like, when you suffer from a mental illness as well, like there's so much more to talk about than just like being stoked for the end result. Like the planning and everything is just so beyond stressful and like terrifying.
Yeah, it's that's what I always like. You always hear, even the people that go through these surgeries, like they're always like all about it, which I get. But you know, for me, and like it's like the other part that you're talking about, the reality of it is like stopping me. It stops a lot of people, actually, and we don't talk about that, but like that's a terrifying. It is. I get like, and you're gonna be fine, and like most people end up fine, but it's like, and you'll be totally fine, but it's like that fear exists, like still, like it's still a scary thing.
Yeah, just like they ask you like, do you have a will?
Yeah.
Like the rare risk of like getting hypothermia, like different weird things that you don't think about that no one talks about online. So like I'm gonna make a huge video about that, because it's stuff that I think a lot of people are stoked about and just look over it. But like there's some serious rare things that can happen if you have weird allergies or just like complications, and no one talks about that, even though I know this is something I need to do, and I am excited once it's over. Like I feel like when I wake up from surgery, I'm going to be crying and crying because I'm going to be so happy that I didn't die. That like,
yeah, you probably will be, and you're going to be kind of out of it and shit anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But like I like just cannot wait to wake up, and then like dealing with the healing and stuff will suck, but it'll be worth it. But like just the actual surgery is just beyond like debilitating, and like I like just have so much anxiety in normal life when there's nothing going on. But then on top of that, dealing with the pandemic and like a civil rights movement and all that stuff, and just like having empathy for everybody, it's just like a lot to deal with every day.
Have you looped in your family and all this? Because like, how is that? Because, you know, it's one thing, you know, to come out as trans and all that, but now when you're getting procedures done that are going to irrevocably kind of like, you know, be reality for people, like, especially in your family, have you looped them in on that? Is that a weird thing?
I told my mom about the consult, and then I had to ask her yesterday about like family allergies and stuff. But it's all been which took me I should have asked that sooner.
Yeah.
But it took me a lot of courage to even just ask for like family allergies. But she pretty much only asked if I was like nervous. She hasn't really said anything about her opinion or anything. She's been very quiet on it. So I know it's probably not.
Does it feel like don't ask, don't tell type shit?
Yeah, it's just like, hey, this is happening, but also like I know, like she supports me, but I also know she doesn't get it like at all. And I asked her if she wanted to be in any like parent ally groups or whatever, and she said no. So
yeah, I've been trying to get my parents to do that too.
Yeah, and there's only so much I can do, and then my shrink always says like, yo, it's not your job to make anybody else understand, which I get, but at the same time, if it affects me, it feels like my job, even though technically it's not, because I can't help anyone else process things.
Yeah.
Like that does help to hear from a mental health professional, but yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's not like they're being mean to me about it or anything, so I can't complain. I'm definitely more privileged than a lot of people that end up getting kicked out or like disowned.
Yeah, I think we've had similar kind of experiences with that, where it's like you feel bad, not bad, but it's weird, right? Because it's like there's a lot of static that we have to deal with, but they're not. I don't know exactly, but I'm not going to be abandoned, and like my parents will still like if I'm in a bind or something like that, and they can help, they're still going to help me, and they're going to be there. It's just going to be awkward as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I feel same boat.
Yeah,
same boat. Which it's hard. It is hard to complain about because we want more acceptance and like to be open and talk about it more, but at the same time, we aren't as screwed as other people are.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think that evolves over time too. And the more they see it, and I'm in a weird position. Unlike you're there, and I guess you get you've seen them more recently. I haven't seen my parents in a long fucking time. Maybe the longest I've gone without seeing them, and partly that was due to their uncomfortableness, which is whatever. But then the pandemic happened, and then it feels like the longer we don't see each other, the more awkward it's going to be when we do.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that same thing. Like when we've done, like since I've been out, like when we go on tour and then come back, or like they're snowbirds, so I don't see them and stuff. And yeah, there's the distance makes it all weird. And then normally it ends up being in the same spot when you left off, but it's still just like that anxiety of not knowing what that time has done,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's weird, and we're changing, like throughout the time when they see us last, and so
yeah, it's like physically and mentally. Like I'm always in a different place mentally with this, and now I'm at the point where I'm unforgiving to anybody that won't accept me or like anyone that's transgender, and it's just like a different. Like I'm not scared anymore. It's like you cannot be in my life if you can't accept this tiny thing about me.
Yeah, it's wild. And you get to that point, and then sometimes you get to like those awesome points where it's like you're just like existing and not thinking about it at all. I kind of like those moments nowadays. Like,
oh, it's great
because we talk about it on the podcast. That's cool. I save space for that, but it's awesome to just like when you can like go like hours and you didn't even have to think about like that part of you, and you're just like existing like you used to before all this happened. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and I love when that can happen, and I can't wait to see how different that is for me, like after surgery and stuff too. Because right now, like anytime I do anything physical, like I hike and bike every day, and I play drums, and I can't do any of that in a binder. I drummed in a binder once and bruised my ribs, and then I had to do it was only like a month tour, so luckily it was a short tour. But the whole tour, my ribs were like bruised, so, like I couldn't even wear a binder before the show because it hurt so bad and stuff. So it's just like. To have band practice every day still during the pandemic and be reminded that I have like tits, like I cannot wait to know what that feels like to not have to deal with that and have that part shut off even more.
I think for people that know you, and for me, like just the fact that you're a drummer and how much that affects you. Let's not even talk about gender, but the fact that you're a drummer that had that, like that's what makes me really excited and happy for you. Is the fact that it's going to be such a huge fucking deal to have that out of your way. Just as a drummer, forget the gender shit. Just as a drummer to have that not be there.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. Like in all ways. But yeah, and then like on this last tour we did before the pandemic, my voice had already dropped and I was like pretty like in quotations like passing. But then we get to a show and there's only so much I can do to my like chest to be able to still perform. So like even with like I would use like KT tape or other types of tape to tape them, and then wear like an extra small sports bra, but like they're still there, and then I would still get misgendered, and then it's just like
and like having to buy and like wear a sports bra, I'm sure again, that's adding more dysphoria, right? Like you don't want to wear that shit.
Yeah, not at all. And the show where I bruised my ribs, I was like testing it out just to see, because I was like, it's probably fine, because we only play like 30 minutes. I was like, it's probably fine, but I didn't put into consideration how hard I go. So like after the third song, I couldn't breathe, but the bill we were on was like a 6-band bill art show thing. So I couldn't like take time to go take it off. So I finished the set, could barely even do my vocals. And I'm like pulling my drums off stage. I had to go in the green room and like rip it off. And then like an hour after I took off the binder, I still could not breathe properly. I was like laying on the ground, like trying to spread out my back, and I could not get a deep breath. And then that's like when my ribs were bruised. But it's just like, then, great, a reminder. Now I cough and my ribs hurt, and I remember why they hurt. And it's like a whole nother realm.
That's a thing. Like prolonged like problems, like lifelong. Probably won't be in your case. It wasn't as you didn't do it as long, but there are people that weren't in a position to get surgeries and stuff that had binded for years and years and years and years, and have like medical problems to this day because of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not. And like I really stand by like you need to bind safely. Some people are on YouTube that I watch and they're bragging that they wear their binder all 24 hours besides their shower and stuff. And it's like, oof, dude, I get it. Like I want to do that too, but also like you have to, at the end of the day, also care about your physical health, because it's just as important as your mental health. And I feel like they need to both be respected at the same. Like a lot of people don't even notice that mental health is a thing, but like they both need to be on the same page there. And there's a certain amount you can do where it's just going to affect your physical so bad that just because your mental is protected, it's like the same backlash as people that ignore mental health. Yeah.
Crazy. And yeah, it's funny because it's, I think that's even probably more pervasive. Like it's weird because the boob thing for a trans guy is probably the boob thing, the boobies, is like probably like it's probably one of the more dangerous kind of things to hide. Like even for trans women, it's like it's easier to hide, bottom dysphoria. You could still have problems with that if you're going to go the full tuck and like get shit going. But even then, it's not as invasive. It's less invasive, I think, than like having to hold back whatever size chest you have, especially the bigger. Like imagine having like a huge chest and having dysphoria. Like I couldn't imagine that.
I cannot imagine that, because no matter what you do, like some people wear like 2 binders and it's still not like as flat as they want it. And I cannot even imagine. Just today, my surgeon told me to take out my nipple piercings.
That's awesome.
She wants them to be like healed-ish because they like reshape the nipple and everything. So I took those out and I like.
Oh shit! Take them out to like get rid of the hole.
Yeah. So I had like now. So because I'm probably having surgery in like a month or so. So she wanted them out so that when they're reshaped, there's not like a weird fresh type. Even though they're like technically healed, like nipple piercings are weird. They don't ever like actually heal. They're weird. They're weird. I've had them for like 3 years and they still get like crusty and so I don't know. But yeah, so she wanted me to take them out, and I took them out, and I did not realize how much how like they were treating so much dysphoria that like I literally like dry heaved in the shower when I took them out. It was that bad, and now I don't think I will look at my chest until after surgery, whenever that is. Like
wow.
They masculinized they made my chest so masculine in comparison to like not having them in, that now I cannot. Oh, it's been a rough day. That's all I can say. Like I cannot even like think about that. Oh,
I understand that completely. Yeah. And that's kind of like it's I can relate when, I mean, obviously it's why we talk all the time, but it's like, yeah, it's once you've done things that make you feel more like who you are, and then you get those reminders, it's like that much worse.
Yeah.
And it's like hard to go. It sucks.
Yeah. And it was a great reminder to be like, oh, I do need this surgery, like 200%. Cause I'm always like, yes, I need it. But this was like, oh yes, there's no way. Like, there's no way. I don't even know how to explain it. Like there's no way I can keep living with these things on my body.
Yeah, and that's what they are. They're just things.
They're just things. Yeah.
Well, it's cool. I mean, I'm excited about it. We're all gonna live vicariously through you, like all trans people do when other trans people get surgeries. It's funny because it's sometimes when you hear these conversations, like on other podcasts I've heard where people talk about surgeries and stuff, it could be like a trigger for dysphoria. Just listening to it, because you're like, oh shit, I want to get that done. You see other people getting things done. I think that's important though, to kind of like, it's like important to remember that, like, yeah, maybe that's something you want to do, but it's also important to remember that, and to remind people that are listening that you're valid no matter what.
No matter
whether you get this or not, and you're just as much who you are today as any of us are that get things done or don't.
Exactly, and there's so many reasons that people can't get them done. It's not like most of the people that aren't choosing to get stuff done, it's not just because like they don't want to or whatever. It's like health problems, money, family, safety. Like there's so many different reasons. Yeah.
And it happens a lot more often than people think. So I guess to move to the next segment, our question segment, there's not a lot of it's more like topics that have come up, and I didn't really want. I'll let you talk a little bit more about it because you're going to know more than I do, because I just didn't. I was like back and forth about the JK stuff, because while I want to talk about it, like it's so overtly obvious what's going on that like it's like, and I don't necessarily want to give like attention to or a platform to that individual.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like I'm always caught in the middle, but I guess there are people that want to hear a little bit. I don't know what they want to hear, because it's like you already probably know what we're going to say. But did you have anything quickly to like sum up some of the JK stuff that she's been spewing? And to be honest with you, it's nothing. I guess the thing is, it's nothing different or shocking. This is shit that a lot of, unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole people, but white, older, cis women are kind of. There's a whole sector of that. I deal with those people every day. I could tell by the way people look at me when someone is like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in judging that, but I can tell almost just by the way someone is looking that they have those kind of beliefs.
Yeah, it's a weird subject. And for this specific subject, I have a YouTube video on my channel at the Bendy Boo. If anyone wants a link, hit me up. But I think I filmed like 60 minutes of content, but her essay was so long and there were so many terrible false points in the essay that I didn't want a 60-minute YouTube video, so I summed it down to like 10 minutes, but I could have hit a million more things, so I don't want anyone to watch that video to think I was ignoring certain topics. I just could not keep going on about that, and the video already took me like 3 hours to edit, and then I lost the footage, and I had to dig it out of the trash, and it was like this whole giant debacle. So it was just a weird time, but like I didn't think she deserved 60 minutes of attention on YouTube. Exactly. So I summed it down to 10 minutes, even though I don't want anyone to think that's the only issues, because there's hundreds of issues outside of what I talked about. But my main issues are that she is lost as fuck. She will not listen to anybody that's actually trans. And then she uses her like trans friends as like a crutch, almost, or an excuse. And she's saying, well, I'm friends with this trans person. And it's like, but that's one. And they probably, from my experience of talking to people like that, they probably didn't even... Like, she didn't listen to what they were actually saying either, and she still stuck with her opinion regardless what they said, if they're friends or not.
Yep.
And I think the most important thing is her newest thing is she's saying that like lesbians are transitioning because they're homophobic and they want to be straight, and she's not realizing that trans people get just as much hate, if not more hate, than lesbians do. So I don't understand what she's even saying by saying that if you transition, then you're straight and then all your problems go away, because transgender people have dysphoria. That's part of what makes them trans, but also we're not taking an easy route in life. And it's definitely not, there's so many people that transition that are gay or bisexual. So it's not like I cannot even comprehend where she's saying that's like a conversion camp type thing, or she was going on about how hormones can be an antidepressant, which is also false. If you have depression, like my depression is alleviated from testosterone only because some of my depression was from dysphoria, but I still have depression. That's not going anywhere. So like she has so many points where even me talking about it right now, I feel like it doesn't even make sense, because like nothing she's saying makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I could rant on about that for like 3 hours.
Well, it's the more people like her talk about about things, it's like the more they reveal themselves to be idiots. Or not, and I don't mean like idiots, but the more they reveal themselves to be naive and ignorant. So it's like the more that she keeps talking, the more you start to realize how like non-understanding of the whole situation she is. Like when that lesbian stuff starts coming out, or the conversion therapy starts coming out, you start to see like just how flawed her thinking is, and how one thing doesn't, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in her case. Like she's taking bits and pieces from everywhere and putting them together. And just like you said, isn't listening to, if she does know these people, like trans people that are friends, just really not listening like at all. Like, and this is how a lot of the people that think like her are, like, they're just not listening, which is why I don't spend a lot of time talking about them or engaging, because it doesn't matter what we say or what we do. They're still going to come up with this really, just not accurate portrayal of what trans people are.
Yeah, no, and I think the only good reason to talk about it and why I did on my YouTube channel was because I think in certain cases people need validation, and people that feel the same way as we do, it helps if they hear something that validates their feelings towards it, because it's such a toxic thing. If there's not someone talking about it to validate that it's okay to feel the way we do and we're like correct in the situation, it's nice to have that like stamp of validation that we're not wrong. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And we need people to do what you're doing. So, I mean, that's good. And we need to keep, I guess, talking about it in that way. It bleeds into itself to like people like JK, or like what our country is doing with the Trump stuff, with the recent homeless shelter thing, is they take these like small nuggets of like fear, or like fear-based bigotry that they've used against trans people for so long, and then everybody just kind of buys into it, the people that believe what they believe. And that's what they use, though, to enforce these rules and these things that they're doing. That's what they're using against us. And that's what we're talking out against. And we're trying to tell people, like, A, it's not right because of all that bullshit. It's not accurate. But also, we don't want them to get away with it, because people are believing this shit when it's doubled down on, and when it's like the rhetoric of like the communities that don't believe in what the trans experience is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so sad if anybody sat down with, I feel like 99.9% of trans people are on the same page, where if we were able to sit down with one of these people and explain our side, even though they're probably not going to listen, we pretty much all can speak for the same, that we are asking to use the bathroom we belong in as a safety, as a validation. I feel like we can all agree, like the vast majority of us are not predators. Obviously, every single walk of life has predators, and there's nothing we can do about that. And because there's a couple transgender predators doesn't mean the whole community should be shut down, because then, like, what about cis white people, white men? Like, there's shit coming out every day about pedophiles and stuff like this, and everybody ignores that. But like, let the trans woman in the bathroom because they're gonna like hurt your kid. And it's like, what about all the real factual shit coming out every day? Like, there's actual facts. It's not even a fear.
Yeah, and that's what we're fighting against, is like the dominant, I guess, the quote unquote dominant media spin, and like the people that are the loudest right now. I mean, it's weird because we are making a dent. I guess there are plenty of us out there making enough noise to where people are realizing some of the absurdity, because now we have like the facts, like you just mentioned, and then the reality, and you can't ignore that at a certain point. Like we're just it's just like, it's just the reality of the situation, and it's all fear based and weird, but it's all nonsensical. Like, like same sex attracted people are using the bathroom together all the time, if that's part of it.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, and I was reading, I don't remember where I read it, but someone was saying how like the whole law of like the bathroom bullshit, how they're saying like trans women can't be in there. There's like butch lesbians getting attacked too now, and it's affecting them because they go in the bathroom and this group of like J.K. Rowling people start attacking them because they look like a dude, and it's like
what's happened to you.
Yeah, that happened to me for years. Like literally every time I've walked in the women's room, like I don't even know if there's a time where that didn't happen, or at least like I would go in the bathroom and someone would walk out and check the door to make sure they were in the correct room, stuff like that, weird stuff, people yelling at me, looks, different stuff like that, just from I literally would dart into the stall as fast as I could when I use the women's room. But yeah, like it's affecting a whole group of people that aren't even trans as well, in like a toxic, not safe way.
And that's, unfortunately, that's the sticking point where people are going to start listening, because now cis people are going to be scrutinized, like at homeless shelters and shit. Like they're going to be looking at cis people too and being like, are you a dude? And like, it's good. Then they're going to be insulted. Then people are going to listen, like some bullshit like that.
What's going to happen when there's a homeless intersex human? Like, there's some on TikTok that are getting a big following. I think that's awesome, because they need to be heard a lot more than they are. And it's like they need to be wherever they feel safest. And a lot of like the ones that identify as like a woman, they do look more masculine because of their chromosomes and their makeup. And it's like, how, and makeup as in like DNA, not like makeup. like how are you going to tell an intersex person what side of the homeless shelter they belong in? That's something that they need to decide for themselves, because they've experienced their life and they know where they are safest.
Yeah. And it just blatantly erases non-binary people. So that's the other part.
That doesn't even like where. Yeah, I'm getting mad.
Me too. I feel like non-binary people are getting a real short end of the stick in a lot of this talk, and it's because we have to get over the fact, which is going to be hard. I get it. We're just not used to it as a culture, I guess. And we're not on the same page as a culture. This is also what makes it difficult, is in these times we couldn't be any more divided. But in being in our division, we're also like, we've lost our identity, and we've never had one really as America. We had these ideas that we thought would be great that didn't end up working out. Actually became the opposite. Well, there's a certain subdivision of people that have ran this country since the beginning and still run and dominate it. And the ideals were bullshit about immigrants and building this country. Yeah, it is a nation of immigrants and all that shit. And it was built on the backs of fucking Indians. Like, we all know. What's so fucked up is we all know that. Everybody knows that. And just like the trans thing, I think we're starting to learn that everyone's known that trans people have been here and existed. And we're still trying to like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the particular administration that's at like the helm of this, but it's so much deeper than, people talk about Trump and all this shit. And it's like, we give him a lot of credit, and then we don't give him any credit at the same time. This is kind of like, we have to decide, like, is he really the one that's perpetuating this, or is there a whole crew behind the scenes in our government perpetuating this thing?
Definitely a whole crew. And then like, especially when stuff comes out, like the thing that came out yesterday, it's like Trump administration. So it's like the whole administration. And like, I was doing some research. I've been trying to like research law and everything and be more involved in like the actual, not just my opinion, but like how laws are passed and like the Constitution and everything like that. And like a lot of it is bullshit people behind the scenes writing the law. And then it's a lot of it is up to the president of either signing it or not.
Yeah.
So it's like shitty people in the background are making these laws, and then the shithead in charge is like, let me get my pom-poms out. Like, it's terrifying because it goes way beyond what any of us even know. Like, there's so much back end, and if people like want to ignore that, that's fine, because it's kind of scary to think. But yeah, it's not just the president and Congress in charge of everything. There's people that we don't even know about.
Yeah, and that's the most concerning part, and it sucks because, like the homeless shelter thing, I just don't know if I had time. Like, I just didn't. I don't know. Like, I read a lot of shit. I told you I look up transgender on Google, and I did notice that. But like, I just reading that shit is so hard to read, because it's like, I just hate the one thing I really appreciate. I really like the positives right now of like the visibility and all that, and the ability to live a life. I mean, more or less where I can kind of do what I got to do. I appreciate that to a very small extent. I just hate all this shit's going around, like centering me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just know that there's all this talk in the media, and then I go out and I feel like I'm like forced to be representative of the shit that's like in the media.
Yeah. No,
that sucks.
Yeah. And just like some of the, like, just when I was like raising my money for top surgery and stuff, just some of the questions I got in my inbox and stuff, and it's just like,
oh, did you get questions in your inbox?
just like about like how big my dick is gonna be and stuff, and I was like, whoa,
No way.
yeah, and I was like, it's one, like, why would you? Should I ask you if you're like circumcised or whatever? You know, like I'm like, hey, right back at you, like, how big is your dick? You know, but
Are
like,
these people you know?
like yeah, I've seen them at shows or
That's weird.
Like some of them I've known for quite a long time, and I'm not gonna call anyone out because I like corrected them and they apologized. But I was like, one, like it takes one Google search to find out what top surgery is, but two, like that's not something you would ask literally anyone else. And all the answers are on Google or YouTube, all of them. You can find out how like the different types of bottom surgery, which I'm not getting, but like you can find out the different types, the different implants you can get. Like there's so much knowledge on Google.
Are the people asking you guys or non-binary people or
all cis white men?
See?
Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, all cis white men. No,
I think it's a lot of down low people. Cuz like
probably
you can find that information around, but I think those are people that might be like attracted to you.
I guess that could be.
Is that a weird take?
That is, it is, but also it makes sense because that's like kind of how like homophobia stems. Like people that would make fun of gay people in high school usually ended up being some kind of like closeted gay in there.
Why is it always like cis? It always tends to be cis guys. This is just from experience of others that I've heard and us talking that have the questions, like the bizarre and like offensive questions. It's mostly them, like the egregious shit.
Yeah, I think it's because they're taught that they have to be tough and straight, and like they're I don't think they really know a different way to go about it because they're so brainwashed by boomers and like how they were raised to be this like just terrible thing. I don't know. Like I think it's a lot of not their fault. It's just how they were raised.
Is there any ways in which you feel like or that you think that you can relate to like a cis guy in that kind of thinking?
Not yet. I'll let you know, but no, I don't know. Like, and I'm aware, like, at some point, once I like pass more and stuff, like, I'm gonna have like white male privilege essentially, and I can promise everybody I'm going to use that to my advantage for fighting for trans rights and POC rights and everything. And I will like you're not going to be able to shut me up about fighting for this shit. Like it's only the beginning for me. I'm still like getting on my shell and everything, but like I already have plans for how I can use that to like the trans community's advantage in a different way than like a trans woman can, because at the end of the day, like white male privilege is like a real thing, and I'm not going to let people like walk all over the trans community.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
but I think we all are, you know, like at least we're trying to do our part. And it is cool that you have the awareness of, it's weird, right? Like the social political kind of politics that you kind of cross and going to be, I guess, kind of be crossing, but not, because it's like, you'll never have like pure, I guess, I don't know, like will you have pure king status in this country being a cis white passing person, like, or could you not, or would you not, because like, you know, mindfully you just aren't, you don't own that space.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's weird
because mindfully I don't, and like any conversation I have had with like a white cis male since I've like kind of passed or whatever, or people, even coworkers and stuff, like I don't relate on any level of like how they talk about women or how they approach situations or how they almost, even if it's not on purpose, how they have like this sense of entitlement. So I don't relate to any of that, especially like just forewarning for anyone. But like I did live as like a woman for like 25 years. You know what I mean? Like as in everyone else's eyes. So like I've always known I was trans, but I'm a late bloomer on like coming out and stuff. But like in other people's eyes, I did live as a woman. So like I've seen both sides of how people switched and how they talk to me differently just in these short like 8 months of being on testosterone and everything.
Yeah.
And like I will never be able to relate with like how like straight cis white men like to talk about women and stuff. I think that's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And that's
I've never understood it either.
But yeah, that's
I would say straight guys. I was going to say not just white, but I had the privilege of having to endure many a locker room and being in sports and all that. And I never understood it. I was never friends with anybody, I think, largely because of it. Like, I was just like, I never got it. I never understood it.
And that's something I'll never be able to experience, is like locker room talk. I'll never have that. So that's interesting that that's something like you've had.
Yeah.
In the past.
It was horrible.
I can imagine on tour, we always shower at like Planet Fitness, and that's not even like a real like locker room. That's just, gym locker room. But even in the men's locker room there, it's like, oh my God.
There was a lot of, looking back at it, there was a lot of like sexual harassment going on in male dominated, or all male, I mean, obviously male dominated at the time, locker rooms.
Really?
Yeah, because they fuck around and act like they whip their shit out, or like, well, fucking, there was a player on the team that I played with that would like think it was funny to like try to stick his finger in people's ass. Like,
what?
Seriously. And this is nothing like unusual, right? Like in sports, like you always, I'm sure you've heard stories vaguely of like hazing and shit that happens in locker rooms. And like, yeah, there's a lot of like, it's all hindsight, right? Like at the time you're involved in it and you're not really thinking, and nothing ever happened towards me, but that's because I wasn't involved. Like I was a weirdo.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
because I didn't hang out with anybody. I didn't talk about girls. Like they probably already assumed I was, in their eyes, probably gay.
Yeah, right. Something not one of them.
Yeah. So like it was just, and I just have never been motivated, and they seem motivated, legitimately motivated, but like they had fun, like fucking with girls. Like to them that was like fun. I didn't understand that. Like it wasn't a source of entertainment to me.
Yeah, that's very weird. I never really even did women's locker rooms. Like I did softball and stuff, but it was always like outside Phoenix. There's no like locker. It's so much different. I don't know. At least for me, like there was really no locker rooms. But my only actual memory of like being in a locker room was in middle school, and we had to like take off our shirts for like a scoliosis test thing where they check your back.
Check
and
your
I
back,
remember, like that was one of my first memories of being like, I do not belong in this room. Like,
yeah.
Even then, like the dysphoria. Now I know it's dysphoria, but like I remember that day vividly. It was probably like 4th or 5th grade too, and I just remember being like, I don't want to take off my shirt in here. This doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, oh my God, terrible.
Look at that. I took you right back to memory lane, to a horrible memory in middle school.
Yeah.
Only it's funny. There's a lot of hindsight shit like that. I've been telling people, I've had conversations with people that it's odd. Like so much of the trends, I saw a post today from somebody on Twitter that I follow, that there's so many things when you've owned yourself as a trans person and come out that you realize in hindsight. You look back, you'll just have a flashback and be like, oh, that was dysphoria. But you didn't know that then. Yeah,
right? No, if only I could go back and tell myself that and like make it easier.
Yeah, well, and again, like I think we talked about it a little bit either last week or the week before. Like at the time, we didn't have any idea or language for it. Like we thought it was weird, or I'm trying to think now what I thought of what I was doing. Like back then, I think I was just like really ashamed of like dressing up as a girl. I think I was like just really ashamed and like kept it secretive, but like it's weird because you deal with it and you know that it's different, and I didn't tell anyone. Like it's kind of weird. I don't know. I'm just kind of going off on a tangent thinking about.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about how I justified it in my head. Like I would do like dangerous shit, like where dangerous is where I can get caught. Like I would be excited to go to my aunt's house because she wore cool shit, and like my mom wore like boring shit. Oh my God. So I would go like my aunt's house, and then I would like, they'd all be hanging out downstairs, and I would like run upstairs and hide like in her room and like try shit on.
Oh my God, that's so cute. But yeah, that is dangerous.
It was horrible.
Wow.
It was, and like so I could have gotten caught like at any time.
Wow.
Weird. Did you do anything like that?
I started dressing like a boy, and
you can get away with it easier. It doesn't count.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for me. I started like publicly dressing like a boy when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah, see, then it's just fine and dandy for you.
Yeah, I got like bullied, but like in a way different way than I couldn't even imagine you getting bullied if you did that. It was like light bullying, mainly bullying from like girls. Like dudes never cared. And I just like played with dudes all the time. But yeah, it was mainly like my mom saying stuff about it and like other girls at school. But I started doing that in 5th grade, and then I think in high school there was a point where I was like confused and started kind of dressing like in girl clothes, but still in like a girl shirt, but like a polo shirt.
Yeah.
And then they made me so uncomfortable, but I also was like struggling with an eating disorder, so that was like whole weird thing of like what is like body dysmorphia and what's dysphoria, and I didn't know what dysphoria was at the time, and just like.
Oh, that had to be kind of twisted too, because like people associate like eating disorders with like women too. I bet that was a weird thing for you, like to feel like
I can't even know. And then like now looking back, like at one point I was so thin that like my tits were pretty much gone. I was so beyond thin. Like they were so like, Kris, I can't even explain to you how small they were because of how skinny I was. But like to see that part of my eating disorder was probably also from dysphoria in a weird way.
That's
like,
interesting.
Oh, I'll have to do a YouTube video about that. I just digging into that. That's weird to even think about.
It's good though. It's probably good for you. It's good to think about these things and talk about these things in a safe space.
Internal therapy or something.
Were you? This is totally selfish. I don't know why I'm at. Were you like? Because you have the trans thing, but you also, because you were probably out as, I guess at the time, did you identify as just gay at that early, or were you still also suppressing that as well?
I came out to some friends in high school that I was bi.
Okay. Yeah, because you're more. Yeah, that makes more sense.
That's always been a thing. Yeah, I've never used like the term lesbian or anything. I've always been bi or pansexual or whatever. But yeah, I remember telling one of my friends in like 10th grade, I think, that I was bi, and she was like, "Oh, me too." And I was like so scared to tell her, and then she was like, "Oh, I am too." And I was like, "Oh." Yeah.
Were you like apprehensive to like get with people or to date because of all that? Like, did that inform like how you interacted with people?
Not really. I've always been really into like dating and whole life, I guess. It was never a problem, but then like as things got more sexual, that's when I started noticing a problem, because I would like pleasing other people over them touching. I didn't want anyone to even like touch me, and now I see that that's dysphoria. But at the time, I just thought that was normal for me to not want people to touch me, and now that's getting better. Part of my thing with top surgery too, I told myself like I don't even want to try dating until I have top surgery, because I'm just so uncomfortable with it. Like the last girl I dated, I was just like, this isn't even fun for me. Like it's not. There's so much dysphoria. I like could not have fun or enjoy it. At all.
That's a huge part. Again, that's another thing that people don't talk about often, I guess, in transition. No matter where you're at in transition, whether it's social, physical, whatever the transition is, like when you typically there's like a whole evolution of your sexual life, and like because it goes hand in hand. Like, and if you're with a partner like I am, like that's something that's there to navigate as well, which is a whole nother host of. Like I was the opposite of you, where it's like not being touched. I can relate to that too, because I'm not that huge and wasn't that huge into it. But I also wasn't like into like being like aggressive or being like, I'm going to fuck the shit out of you. To me, that never, like, I don't know. Like I just was not motivated to do that. Like and that's again, whereas like in hindsight, it's like, oh, maybe something's up with that, but maybe not. Maybe you're just somebody that doesn't want to be dominant. But it's not even about dominance. It's just the act of like being that person that's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it to you. Like that's never been my thing.
Oh, I feel the opposite about that. But yeah, that might be we're opposites. But yeah, it is weird, and it's always evolving. And now that I know why I don't like being touched, I can deal with that and like help fix that, instead of, for so long I just ignored that fact because I was like drinking a lot and stuff, and most of my hookups were drunk and everything. I was just like, no, that's like part of who I am. But now like digging into it, it's like not who I am. It's things I need to deal with because I don't want to be that way. And that's okay if you are that way. But like personally, I don't want to feel like I don't want to be touched and stuff. I would like to personally fix that.
Yeah, which you're going to, which you're right around the corner of fixing, right, for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to talk for you. I figure.
No, yeah,
getting those things gone is going to help you out a lot.
100% right. Yeah, I know. They luckily, like Transdemic and transguysupply.com and a couple other places have great options for the bottom dysphoria, but the top, like a binder, really doesn't cut it for me. So,
yeah. Well, and there's that other aspect, I guess, too. It's not like it's all doom and gloom. It's like I still enjoyed, sexual life. It's just like those things could be better with a more well-rounded like palette of shit you want to do in the bedroom.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why at this point I was just like nothing until top surgery. Like for me, it got to the point where I was like repulsed by the idea because I was involved in it, and like nothing with the other person. It was like I can't, like, I just can't mentally get there right now. So, yeah, so it'll be good.
Yeah, and a large part of that you talked about earlier has to do with confidence, because again, as a transitioning trans person, you basically are starting from square one, and you could be like, it could be an ultra confident person, but like then you have to like learn how to gain confidence as whatever gender you're identifying or you are now. Like then that takes a lot of time. Especially when you're fighting against a current of people saying that you're not worthy, when you're fighting against a dominant narrative of you're not going to be, attractive in public. Like there's a lot of people that might like it in private.
Well, right.
But what does that say, about that makes you like, especially the trans woman, it makes me feel like I'm not valued.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird, isn't it? And then I think for trans guys, like it's almost like there's an element of erasure there as well. Like, cause it's complicated. Like the trans women narrative is so huge, but then you have trans men that are largely, more invisible, but and we don't even talk about them being like this valued, attractive person in society.
Yeah, it is very weird how in the media it's pretty much ignored at this point. It's like the media says like trans women are predators and like trans men don't exist. It's like lesbians like dealing with homophobia. It's like basically if I was a cis person that had never heard of the term, that's what I would pick up from the media.
100%. Yeah, and then and like you said, and trans women are perverts.
Yeah,
and it's 2020. That's still like the dominant narrative.
Yeah,
and you're definitely not going to get a palette of trans woman that looks like me yet, not in public. Well, I mean, I'm doing that work. I mean, I'm forcing myself by doing the mood house and all this shit. So yeah, it's going to happen because I'm making it happen, but you're not going to see people make it easy.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I'm here to fight by your side, and I'm like planning I want to do some like weird photo shoots and stuff with like big statements. Once I get my chest chopped off, like I have so many plans for like this fight. Like I feel like my purpose here is like to play drums and like fight for equal rights, regardless who wants to be on my team or not.
I think that's a good purpose, and that's why we got you here I'm glad that we can get together, because I think that these mix-ups and mashups of trans people like you and I is like really the secret juice to like propel like kind of the movement, is because like we could be no more defiant of like we're going to do what we want, we are who we are, and we're going to get together and like just be powerful like friends and allies together, because even in the trans and LGBTQ community there's divisions as well, and so we're breaking that as well doing these kind of things.
Exactly. And I also, if anyone's listening, any type of trans under the trans umbrella, if you aren't in a place where it's safe or you're not comfortable to be on the fight for equality, like that is not your job. You need to do what's best for you. And like not every single trans person needs to do this. Like it's not for everybody, and not everybody has the ability to speak up or the safety or anxiety. Like there's so many different factors. So like no one should feel guilt for not being able to do that now or currently or in the past or whatever. Like it's not for everybody.
Agreed 100%. So just to wrap up the podcast, I guess Faye, who will be on, I'm going to get Faye on this podcast eventually. We'll have more people on this podcast instead of just us. But the last thing I think we should just end with, just because it's been all bullshit for a while. Celebrating trans joy. Wanted to know what brought us joy this week, or some, maybe if you want to just share one or two things that brought you joy this week. It's early in the week, but whatever.
Yeah, I would say specifically this week, if it's like a trans related type thing, it made me really happy. I mailed out 2 binders. I did a giveaway on my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram at the Bendy Boo, I do giveaways monthly. I might do them bi-weekly. I don't know. But this month I gave away 2 small binders to 2 people that aren't out yet. So I had to like wrap them all secretive and snail mate merch and everything. So that made me really happy to be able to give 2 people their first binders. That was probably my highlight. And then like I've been getting like my surgery stuff in the mail, like my pregnancy pillow and weird shit like that. So
that's awesome.
That's made me happy.
I didn't ask this. This reminded me. Did you harvest eggs and shit? Are you trying to have a kid later? Did you take care of that before hormones?
I didn't. I thought about if I ever do have kids, which I'm not sure yet. I would adopt 100%, but I would never personally carry the kid, and 2, I don't know if I'm going to end up with a man or a woman in the long run as far as like dating goes. And I know I'll probably never be at the point where I could afford a surrogate. So I would like to adopt
That's awesome.
But I have seen some trans dudes on YouTube explain the process of egg saving, and that is not something I want to go through ever. It looks terrifying. The hormonal, oh gosh, yeah, no, I couldn't do it. Like the lady at the doctor, when she gave me tea, she was like, "Do you want to wait and save your eggs?" I was like, "Nope." No,
that's awesome. I think I would do the same thing if I was in your position.
Yeah, I would love to adopt someone that is in need of love and is already out there. In my opinion, there's no need for new bodies when the system of kids out there that need just someone to love them it's so big. It's sad.
It is, yeah, and that segues into the joy of, I guess, the quote unquote joy of the week for me is, I get to, my job is all right. I get to work with kids, and it's just been cool. It's been evolutionary to be able to work with certain kids, and like especially like kids that like I wish I could have been when I was younger. Like little girls are fun to work with, just because I could be myself. Yeah, and like be able to appreciate, I guess, those parts of me that I still have a hard time like letting myself get in touch with. There's still so much apprehension for no reason, just like built-in internalized like transphobia shit, where I'm like, I want to be like super present and just femme for this, and just that's who I am, and like I'm still bucking against it every day. But working with these kids and all that allows me to like grow in that way. So that's I guess that's cool. And being able to talk with some people on a podcast earlier this week, and for a new venue that's coming up here in Minneapolis, Aunties is the name of have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Sophia Aris and Lady Midnight, these people from Minneapolis are raising money, a shit ton of money they're trying to raise for a new venue that's going to be owned by women of color called Aunties.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, so I talked to them, and again, just being able to have access to the space and like relationships with like other women that I've never been able to have, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear more about that. I think Snailmate's going to spend the winter up in Minneapolis, I'm pretty sure. And like the more I talk to like you guys, like
see, from there it just becomes the Mood House podcast. And if you want to hear the Mood House podcast, look no further than the feed that you're on. Mood House podcast usually releases on Sunday mornings. Transdemic podcast right here every Wednesday, usually Wednesday morning. iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Podcast, and probably other places. Thank you all so much for listening. If you need anything, if you're a trans person that needs anything, especially, hit us up, moodyblack@gmail.com. If you have questions about anything, if you're not sure you should ask it here. Ask it in our inbox. We will answer it. We want these uncomfortable questions for uncomfortable conversations. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week on Transdemic, this Sunday on the Mood House podcast.